Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
That's right. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world.
Skun-dun-dun.
Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
We're your audio uncles. And with the help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge we all need for building a great life.
After all, you only get one, probably, so you'd better make the most of it, whatever.
Or whatever.
Yeah, fuck it. All right, let's do it. Uncle Dan.
Yes, sir?
We sure have a fun show on tap this week.
I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of fun. We got some good stuff coming down the pike.
Yeah, we have a little fun Christmas wish for everyone.
Yeah, we started out with "'Tis the Season."
Yeah.
I don't know if you can hear the sleigh bells jingling.
Uncle Doug joins us to talk a little bit about one of the most important stories in the Bible.
The most important story.
And then Dan, what
ever
do you do?
In the world.
You take us to the kind of the butthole of the pantheon.
We do. We are exploring. We're burying another god in the graveyard, and this time it's Uranus.
Yeah, smells like shit. And then we are fortunate enough to be joined by our friend Professor K.
Yeah.
For another fun How to Read segment.
Yeah, man, that one turned out good too. I'm looking. It's fun.
Yeah, she's dope.
She's the straight shizzle, yo.
Let's do the show.
Okay. Uncle Mark.
Uncle Dan.
You know how you have that brother of yours?
Yes.
What's that guy?
Uncle Doug.
Is that him right there?
It's a Christmas miracle.
It's me.
Uncle Doug. Welcome, Uncle Doug.
What a sad Christmas gift.
No. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited about this.
I think everybody should get a ginger for Christmas.
Do you have I don't know. What do you do with a gingerbread house? I was trying to go there with a joke, and I just couldn't.
It's a house without a soul.
Forget about it. Forget about it. Let's move on.
But the carpet matches the drapes in the gingerbread house.
Yes. I like it.
So, again, as our most professional religious person of the three, Uncle Doug is here to share a Bible story with us.
Yeah, for the Bible tells us Christmas.
Now,
Now, right. I'm going tomorrow, as we record this, tomorrow I am going to be going to my wife's family's big Christmas shindig, at which we will purportedly hear the retelling of the Jesus story.
Oh, perfect.
The story of the birth of Jesus. And as I understand it, Doug, that is what you're here to help us understand.
Exactly.
But it might not, okay. I think some of our listeners are going to be shocked by what we're about to learn.
Very possibly.
Right. But it's all there in the Bible, folks.
Because we've heard the story. We all think we know the story of the birth of Jesus Christ.
I think believers and non-believers and Christians and non-Christians know the bullet points of the story of Jesus by memory.
Right.
The spear tips.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, these are some of the bullet points.
And they're not a single narrative. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, so imagine, if you will, there's a car accident.
Okay.
And you're trying to figure out what happened. A car ran a light and hit another car. So the accounts you have to rely on to figure out what happened were not eyewitness accounts or even people who knew the eyewitnesses. It was people 30 years later, or in one case, 60 years later, who heard about the accident retelling the story.
Right.
It's like Rashomon meets Benjamin Button or something shit like that.
So in one version of the story, the car is red. In one version of the story, the car is blue. And
in another version of the story, it's two airplanes.
Exactly.
And a boat.
So the way you would kind of figure out what really happened is not to take these differing accounts and just mush them into a single account.
No, that's what you do.
You'd find the common traits and say those are more likely to be
exactly.
true.
Or you go with the fanciest.
Right. But if you have these accounts that are the car was going north or the car was going east, you can't crush that into a single story.
Right.
Right. But that's exactly what's been done with the Christmas
I like to imagine
story.
a beat cop standing there with his little notebook writing and just looking up at the person going, Myrrh? Myrrh? Fuck, okay, I'll write it down. All right.
So what do we got? Now my memory says that the one that I'm most used to is from Luke. The story that I'm most used to is from Luke.
More than likely, what you're most used to is mostly Luke and some of Matthew, and very little of Mark and John.
Okay.
So the first problem we need to deal with is the chronology of the New Testament books.
Okay.
So the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which are retellings of the life to death to resurrection of Jesus, are not the first four books written in the New Testament. So I know that this is somewhat common knowledge, but
They are the first four books presented in the New Testament.
correct. And that leads a lot of people to believe that they are the first four that were written. So if you read the Bible as a narrative, chapter 1 was written before chapter 2.
Right.
But in the case of the Bible, the four Gospels were actually written very late in the chronology of the New Testament.
Oh.
So they're among the last books to have been written.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So all of the Paul books, so the Pauline epistles they're called, were written before the Gospels were.
Oh.
Yeah,
so all
crazy.
that Ephesians and Galatians stuff it precedes
Precedes the Gospels.
the Gospels.
Yep.
Well, that just gave the Gospels more time to sort of marinate and really get those flavors.
So now it's like Rashomon and Benjamin Button and Memento. Okay, got it.
Okay. I think Mark has put together. You're getting it. You're
This is going
zeroing
to be
in
dynamite.
on this.
This is going to be dynamite.
This will sell.
All right. So
So-
tell me how the journey from Nazareth to the island of misfit toys, because I never fully. Which book is that in?
It's the Book of Rudolph, chapter 2.
Okay, so the Bibles in chronological order are actually, it goes Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Mark was written about in the 50s CE, so about 20 years after Christ was supposed to have died.
Right.
Matthew and Luke were written in the 60s, so 30 or plus years after. And then the book of John was written in the 90s CE, so 60 plus years after Jesus would have actually died.
Wow.
So that's the chronology. The next problem we have to deal with is Jesus' birth. So
That is a problem.
if there was a historical Jesus, if there was a guy,
And there's significant question as to whether
Correct.
or not there was an actual historical Jesus.
there is little to no evidence that there was.
Right.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. We'll talk about that sometime.
However, if there was a guy, the legends about him in the early first century were that he was from Nazareth, which is a backwater of Israel, kind of like Alabama would be to us.
And an awesome progressive metal band, but I'll allow it.
Is that true?
Yeah, Nazareth?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But Jesus of Nazareth, like we've
Yes.
heard that.
The legend of the actual man was born in Nazareth. The problem was the Messiah is prophesied to be born in Bethlehem, which is the city of David. So
Right.
the early gospel writers had to figure out, how do we get this guy who was born in Nazareth and have him be from Bethlehem?
Santa.
Yeah. They come up with some very creative ways.
The first Christmas miracle.
So they come up with some creative ways, which we'll get to. The next problem that we should mention at the outset is the problem of John the Baptist. Jesus was far from the only itinerant preacher roaming around Judea at that time.
Right.
One of the other prominent ones was John the Baptist. And to be clear, the place was lousy with itinerant preachers.
Oh, and you get your house sprayed for them, and then
totally.
the next year they just come
Infestations.
right back.
Yeah, every spring.
Door-to-door apocalypse salesman.
Like cicadas. So John the Baptist had a significant following, and the gospel writers wanted to try to bring those people into their fold. So they've written John the Baptist into the story as kind of a precursor to Jesus. So you'll catch that as we go through these stories.
I feel like Scientology should do this with Joseph Smith. I feel like
Why not?
they should try and just write the Mormons into their own theology and say all the Mormons are ours now.
It's like the Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers.
Yeah, you just suck them all in.
I agree.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it.
a good way to square that circle. think you fit on it.
The last problem, if it is a problem, is the problem of the virgin birth. And
Okay.
we'll just toss this on top of the pile because tremendous
I don't see
amount
why
of
that would be problematic at all.
All that makes sense.
Well, so the Hebrew word for virgin is actually Bethula. I'm sure I'm murdering that word.
We have an Israeli listener who will
I'm
correct
sure.
us on
Yeah,
Twitter.
yeah.
At me on Twitter about that.
Yeah. But the prophecy about Jesus being born the Messiah, the word that's used is he's born of an Alma, which is a Hebrew word for a young woman. But when whoever translated the Old Testament into Greek, which the gospel writers base their gospels on, that word was mistranslated, from the Greek to Parthenos, which means virgin.
Okay.
So it's entirely possible that the virgin birth was a mistranslation of a prophecy.
Right.
And that didn't need to be in the Bible, but the gospel writers felt like they had to have a virgin. And 2,000 years later, here we are.
Right. That's
Do you know who
interesting.
translated it?
Into the Greek?
Jimmy the Greek. Yeah, he did. And he's a racist, so
That guy.
just a little aside. Look it up.
Also a bit of a perv.
Was he
Like too super into those virgins, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. He was a racist perv.
Who isn't? Okay. Okay, so let's start off with the gospel according to St. Mark.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Again, this is in the 50s CE. So,
I feel like we should be
we go.
playing
I know.
organ music or,
or
something.
sleigh bells.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have a little musical treat with this. So let's do it.
Okay, so the gospel according to St. Mark. Behold, I send my messenger before thy face, which shall prepare the way before thee. The voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord to make his path straight. This John was baptizing in the wilderness and preaching baptism and repentance for the remission of sins. John was clothed in camel's hair with a girdle about his loins, and he ate locusts and wild honey.
He was a crazy person.
He was a fucking crazy, homeless crazy person.
John preached that there come another mightier than I, the latchet of whose shoes I am not worthy to stoop down and unloose.
What's a latchet?
I think it's a little tick-ting, ching,
It's a buckle.
I swear, you know, we need to start a running list of words that I could never have expected were in the Bible.
It's a weasel.
It's a weasel keeper. It keeps a weasel on your shoe. All right, so
Everybody likes a good shoe weasel.
you had me at latchet.
Okay, so continuing on the gospel, or the nativity according to Mark. And it came to pass in those days that Jesus came forth from Nazareth of Galilee and was baptized of John in Jordan. The end.
So Jesus came forth from Nazareth.
Yeah,
Wait, and
so-
whose gospel is this?
That's Mark. So that's the first one.
So you just did the whole
that's out. That's all.
Birth
That's
of
the
Jesus.
whole birth story in the book of Mark.
in the book of Mark.
Okay, so hit the bullet points again. A guy's going to come before your face, right? And
That's your words, not mine.
well, that's the gospel according to Uncle Mark. So a guy's going to come and make the way straight.
Yep.
And then there's this crazy dude in the desert.
Yep.
Down by this mud hole, in his watering hole, and he's saying, because he's the authority, that somebody kicks more ass than I do.
Way
is
better
gonna
than me.
show up, and that's it.
And that's it.
Okay, so
Bada bing.
but
So-
he's coming from Nazareth.
But so Mark doesn't even try to deal with the Bethlehem thing. He doesn't even try and deal with the virgin birth.
Right.
Just Jesus is on the scene.
And he really and we can believe in him because crazy in the camel hair suit is super on board.
John Locust Eater.
Yeah, the guy eating crickets in the watering hole is. Hey, this is what's up, man. It's what's happening. So that is
That's it.
But that is also the closest to the alleged event.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
in a court of law, would be probably the most credible of all the stories.
Right, and by a fair amount, by a decade, closer to than the follow-on
Right.
gospel. So,
Okay.
So
So are we done? Oh, there's more.
that's now we're going on to the next one.
Oh.
The gospel or the nativity, excuse me, according to St. Matthew. Now this one's going to sound a little bit more familiar. Now imagine how much nicer Christmas would be if we just stuck with Mark.
All right.
It's just like, yep, boom.
And
Yeah.
lo, he was born. The end.
Yeah, didn't mention Mary or anything.
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're getting into Matthew, and here we go. Mary and Joseph get married, but before they came together, which is an actual quote, hey, Mary is found to be with child. Joseph, being a just man, didn't want to make her a public example and sought to put her away privately, which is, I guess, what you did back then. I don't know what that means.
Meaning she was pregnant before they were married.
Well, they were married, but they hadn't had sex yet, and then she was pregnant.
What was the word that it used?
Put
Did it
her
say
away?
Betrothed?
Put her away privately. They were married, and then but before they came together,
But okay, so
so he might have come.
he may have come early.
The Bible is all about premature ejaculation, and it's gross.
However, while he thought about what to do, an angel came to him in a dream, and he was told the child was of the Holy Ghost, and he should be called Jesus, for he shall save the people from their sins.
Joseph didn't even get to name him.
I think that's so funny.
What a cuck.
When,
He's the original cock.
he is.
He's the OG cuck.
OG cuck. It's so funny. We will let you get through this, I promise. But it is funny to me that he like the best he can do is a dream. Like and also I remember as a kid hearing phrases like and he shall be called Jesus, for he is coming to save the world.
Right.
And at that time, I assumed that Jesus, the word Jesus, had some like Hebrew meaning that meant come to save the world, and it doesn't.
No, I think
it's just Joshua. It's Yeshua.
It's just a name.
Yeah.
It's just somebody's name.
It means affordable footwear
It means
in Hebrew. Don't at me, Israel.
Okay, so Joseph knew not his wife until Jesus was born. Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of King Herod. So here we have him just plopping Jesus into Judea in Bethlehem, but now we got to get him to Nazareth where he was actually from. So
right, and we've got a time frame because we've got the King Herod thing happening.
right, so wise men come from the east; they're not numbered. To King Herod, asking, "Where is he that is born of the King of the Jews? For we have seen the star in the east, and are come to worship him." Now, just
who are they
point of
asking?
order. King Herod.
Oh, they're asking Herod.
Yeah, they
Okay.
show up. The wise men show up at Herod's place, and they're like, "Hey, where's this Messiah?"
Right.
Now, the wise men come from the east, and they say they're following a star from the east.
In the East, right?
Am I crazy, or is that not how things work?
They're not following a star from the east if they're
Right? Or running from a star.
We saw a star in the East, and it scared the bejesus of us, so we came west as fast as we can.
we are retreating from an eastern star. King Herod, where can we get your triangle hat cookies? Hamantaschen.
Are Herod cookies?
I believe that's Herod's hat.
Okay.
Yeah,
Delicious.
it's a Jewish
I
thing.
don't know what you guys are talking about.
Racists.
Okay. So this news of this Messiah bothered Herod and all of Jerusalem, which is strange that a whole city would get bothered.
Yeah.
So he gathered his council and demanded to know where this Christ would be born. According to prophecy, they said in Bethlehem. Herod told the wise men where to go and said, when you get there, let me know if you find him so I can come worship him too.
But he was just being tricky.
He was being tricky. So
Okay, so the Herod got the news from these three dudes,
wise men. You can't see my air quotes.
unnumbered,
Unnumbered wise men.
and between 1 and a million,
And
wise
all of them.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay, so they take off again following the star, which begs the question why they needed to stop for directions, but fair enough.
Right.
So
An indistinct star.
right. So finally they
Well, it turns out that you can't actually follow a star. I don't know if you guys know this.
if you can try, it's going to be
You're just
it'll be
going
a long night.
You can't. Yeah, you'll just keep going. It doesn't stop. Following a star, there's no stop point.
It's going to lap you.
Okay, so they make it to Jesus finally, and by the time they get to him, he is apparently about 2 years old, most scholars believe.
Oh.
And they worship him, and this is where the wise men give their gifts, and there's 3 gifts, which is why they say 3 wise men. The gifts are, of course,
Gold,
frankincense.
Frankenberry,
And
and
Count Chocula.
Mercury saber.
So you got to put yourself in Mary's shoes. You know, she gets gold from the first guy. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
The next guy's like frankincense. Okay.
That's
And then myrrh.
then Myrrh.
They're sap.
Yeah,
right?
myrrh, myrrh is a natural gum or resin extracted from a number of small thorny species of comifera and is also considered to be an essential oil.
It smells good, right?
As is frankincense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
frankincense and myrrh.
I think
are
frankincense smells good. I have no fucking idea what myrrh smells like.
Wow, it's a
Myrrh.
callback.
right.
So
There's
they
a lot of crossover on
Yeah,
this show.
exactly. No, I think actually the essential oil companies do myrrh.
Oh, really?
I think myrrh is one of them.
so
But it's spelled.
it is. So the wise men stopped by Whole Foods on their way.
Right.
Okay, so having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, the wise men departed another way. In another dream, Joseph is warned that Herod will destroy them and they should flee into Egypt, which they do by night. They stay there until Herod's death in order to fulfill a prophecy that out of Egypt I have called my son. Meanwhile, Herod realizes that they are not returning and is, quote, exceeding wroth. He sends his troops into Bethlehem and they kill all the children 2 and under.
Oh dear.
After Herod's death, an angel told Joseph to return to Israel, which he does. But fearing to go to Bethlehem because he thinks it still might be dangerous, they go instead to Galilee and take up residence in the city of Nazareth. The end.
Okay.
Okay, that's just a boring ass travelogue
Right.
of
And nothing about Jesus really.
No. So
That's so
it's just it's the wise men, it's King Herod, and that's how they use the threat of death to get them from Bethlehem to Nazareth and by way of Egypt, which does not seem to be kind of on the way.
no, not at all.
But
That is very much to the west, and Yeah, that's not
It's been long established that biblical Jews have a terrible sense of direction.
right.
Okay.
Unlike modern Jews.
Wait, do we turn left? When do we turn left?
We'll go for a car ride with Eli. And
They made it all the way around the Red Sea before they realized.
Okay, so here we are with the nativity. The nativity according to St. Luke.
Okay, finally, Luke. Good. This is a good one.
Okay, this is the one that has the most elements you'll remember. So, except for this one part at the beginning, which is pretty weird, and you may not remember this part from the story, but
Because
here it is.
everybody skips the weird stuff.
Yes. In the days of King Herod, the king of Judea, a priest named Zacharias, whose wife Elizabeth was old and barren, in spite of the fact that both of them were godly people. Well, Zacharias was burning incense, which I think is also an essential oil, in the temple.
Point of order here.
Yeah.
This is one of 4 women in the Bible that have a name?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And also, old and barren. Yeah, once you get old, guess what? You're barren.
Yep. Despite being godly.
Yeah, right. You'd think.
Your ovaries still stop working.
So Zacharias is in the temple burning incense, and an angel appears and says, your wife is going to have a baby. He will be great and godly, and he won't drink wine or strong drink.
Oh, great.
And he'll be filled with the Holy Ghost even in the womb. So Zacharias was skeptical because his wife was an old dried up hag. So Gabriel struck him dumb until the child was born, which seems harsh.
Wow, he's like,
Why did
I don't.
Why was he struck dumb?
My
He was
wife
skeptical.
Can't,
Yeah.
My wife can't have a baby. What are you talking about?
Fuck you!
You don't get to talk for 9 months.
I'll bet that asshole was shooting blanks. I'll bet she was all good.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Gabriel comes along and he's like, bam!
There's a lot of angel fucking in this story, isn't there? When Elizabeth was about 6 months pregnant, Gabriel went to another virgin named Mary, who was married to Joseph, and said to Mary. So again, in both stories, they're married but still have not had sex, which...
I thought they were betrothed but not married.
No, they're married. Gabriel says to Mary, "Hail, thou art highly favored with the Lord. Blessed art thou among women." Gabriel told Mary she would conceive and bring forth a child and should call him Jesus. He would be called the Son of the Highest and reign over the house of Jacob forever. Being a virgin, Mary asked how this could happen, and Gabriel told her that, quote, "The Holy Ghost shall come upon thee."
No, he's got to come in her. Otherwise...
Depends on how it's done.
You know, it's the
guess.
biblical version of that moment in Rosemary's Baby where the crazy old neighbor woman, she realizes she's having the devil's baby, and the crazy old neighbor woman's like, Satan came all the way from hell. And of all the girls in the world, he had sex with you. It was an honor.
Yeah.
It was an honor.
It is.
Okay, so Gabriel told Mary about Elizabeth's miraculous pregnancy, so Mary went to visit her, and fetus John leapt in her womb.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
And there lies a lot of the anti-abortion.
Right, because Lord knows if a baby in a mother's womb can hear news and go woohoo, then that proves that
Ipso facto.
abortion is murder.
Yeah, and it was at that moment he decided to go live at the watering hole in a camel diaper and eat bugs. What a joyful story.
It gets better.
Okay, so Mary stayed with Elizabeth for about 3 months until John was born. When they went to circumcise John and name the baby, John's tongue was loosed and he began to speak, which obviously freaked everyone in the temple out. And then Zacharias got
Get your hands off my dick, weirdo.
Zacharias was able to speak again, and that is the end of that story. And now we get to the part where we all recognize Caesar Augustus sent out a decree that all the world should be taxed. So there's this whole section about Zacharias, his wife, and John.
Yeah.
And now we're finally to the birth of Jesus. Okay.
No, so wait, was John... I guess John was also conceived... Was he Zacharias's...
John was not ever claimed to be divine like Jesus was.
Right, but what... So what...
What's the point?
But was he Zacharias' son,
point.
or was he the Holy Ghost's son?
He was the son of Zacharias and Elizabeth. Yeah.
Okay,
But the miracle was that she was barren and
then
was
she
made unbarren.
finally had a kid.
Yep.
Okay, I get it.
And that's John, and John's out doing what John did.
And I feel like the rest of this you have to read in a very in a sort of low, deep and
sort of Robert Peterson voice?
yes, yeah. I'm literally trying not to say the words Robert Peterson because Robert Peterson was a Utah actor.
Yes.
Who I worked with on stage actually
Yes.
before he died, but he is the voice of this story for us forever. Because every time you went to the Mormon church, now the Mormon temple downtown in Salt Lake City, during Christmas time, there was this horrible, they would play Robert Peterson's voice reading from Luke, and then all of these crappy statues would be lit up at different times on this lawn, and it would
the nativity scene would light up.
Yeah, life size, wise men on camels and stuff.
Yeah.
All life size, but it's all in this deep, actorly,
a very
voice.
baritone voice,
Right.
that quavers.
Yes.
If you needed some scenery chewed up, he was your man.
Okay, so Caesar Augustus sent out a decree that all the world should be taxed. Everyone went to their own city to be counted, and Joseph and Mary, who was great with child, went from Nazareth in Galilee to Bethlehem because his ancient ancestor David was born there. So what kind of a census is this?
Right.
It's tantamount to us going back to Scotland to be counted there.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And as I understand, historically speaking,
It didn't happen.
Right.
The Romans kept great records of shit like this.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to indicate that there was ever this census.
Right,
This is
because
just
all commerce and activity and everything would stop for however long it took everybody to hoof it back to
wherever their ancestors were from.
Babylon.
right. And apparently it's not remotely it's not a burden on a young, on all of these families that make their living by blacksmithing or whatever, and we'll just stop all of our work for however many months it takes for us to get back to our home
Right.
and
place.
leave their shit unprotected. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And why can't you just tax people where they stand?
Right.
Which is what you would do.
It's like, oh, you're a blacksmith.
Right. It's about 80 miles from Bethlehem to Galilee, to Nazareth.
Right.
And so that journey back then with a 9-month pregnant woman,
Girl.
you're right, teenage girl.
Yes.
It's like a death sentence.
On a donkey.
Yeah. I mean, it's perilous beyond belief.
Actually, I hear that donkeys are very good for pregnancy.
Really?
No.
You heard it here first.
And now we get to the part that many of us remember in the Christmas story. Mary gives birth to Jesus, wraps him in swaddling clothes, and places him in a manger because there was no room in the inn. An angel appeared to nearby shepherds tending their flocks and said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people, for unto you is born this day in the city of David. Oh my God, I typed Savior and my cat must have stepped on the keyboard because it says Savior.
I
don't think that's
true.
a quote.
And by the way, I can only hear that last lines you read in Linus's voice. Right?
Yes.
All right, so the sky is full of angels singing glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. The shepherds find their way to Jesus. And that's kind of that. Now, Mary and Joseph take the 8-day-old Jesus to the temple to be circumcised. They run into an old man named Simeon, who claimed that God had told him he would not die until he sees the Lord. Takes the baby, says, now I've seen him.
And dies.
Some woman named Anna walks up and says, I agree.
Well, you know what? Let me just say something. To all you skeptics out there, if it's good enough for Simeon and Anna, I don't know what your problem is.
Again, you know a story is important in the Bible if there is a woman who has a name.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's it. That's the end.
So which one was this?
This is Luke. This is Luke.
So Luke took some extraordinary narrative liberties.
The MacGuffin to get them from Nazareth to Bethlehem is the dumbest thing you could possibly think of.
Right.
Is the entire Middle East reordering itself.
Right.
Which would have had some record in the books.
And this isn't King Herod doing it.
No.
It's the Roman Empire that's doing it.
There is no Herod in this one. So
Yeah, Caesar
Oh, that's
Augustus.
true.
Yeah.
He didn't even show up at all.
he's mentioned that it was during his reign, but he's not a
Right.
character in the story.
So now there's choruses of angels singing.
And also, I've always been baffled by the presence of shepherds in this thing.
Right.
Because why? Why do we care?
Is it like a foreshadowing that he's going to be the shepherd, the blah-de-blah?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, as a literary device, maybe. But it always felt to me as I heard this story growing up that really this thing didn't happen until the shepherds came and saw that it happened.
And then one of the shepherds gets on the PA.
Right.
And says, "Lo, unto you a child is born." The fuck does he know?
Well, and why?
I mean, no offense to shepherds; they're fine people.
I'm sure to all your shepherd listeners, this isn't meant as an insult, but Then and now, it is kind of the low end of the totem pole.
Well,
In everything, including believability.
Like, why would the Lord send a heavenly host of angels
Right, just to the
to a
shepherds.
couple of shepherds and not to Herod?
Right.
Like, send the fucking angels to King Herod to say, hey, by the way,
Don't fuck
God
with this
is
guy.
here.
It's the exact equivalent as aliens, going to rural areas
Right.
to probe.
Right, exactly.
The target-rich rural areas.
Right. Why?
Why wouldn't you show up in the city?
All the best probable rectums are out in Wyoming.
Yeah, well, if you can't probe somebody named Cletus, then you ain't probed nobody.
Okay, so that and then there's a little addendum where they at 12 years old they lose Jesus on the road. They find him in the temple talking to the elders.
Right.
And that's that. That is the gospel. So the wise men and the killing of the babies, that's all in Matthew.
Right, okay.
The hosts of angels and the census, the journey
didn't
from
happen.
Galilee.
That didn't happen.
Of course it didn't happen. That's all in Luke. So these stories don't have
So there's very little crossover,
very little, if any at all.
if any at all.
Yeah.
There's there's a guy named Jesus in all the stories.
No, not even in the first one.
Well, he showed up a little bit.
No,
he didn't get
he's
born.
not named though, is he?
He's named at the very. They go through that whole thing with John, and then John baptizes Jesus, and we're off to the ministry of Jesus. So there's no origin story in Mark at all.
So bizarre.
He's just on the scene. Okay, and this won't take long because this is the Gospel according to St. John. This was in the 90s CE, so the other Gospels are extant at this point. So the nativity stories of Luke, Matthew are in the bloodstream in the region, and John wants nothing to do with any of it.
So John could have just put
Piggyback.
this all together and said,
Yeah, he could have sewn it all up with
Yep.
a tidy and tied it with a bow.
yeah.
Yep.
But
Could have
no.
circumcised the whole thing, but
And here is the very bizarre and confusing nativity story according to St. John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were by him made, and without him not anything that was made was made. Okay?
That's really useful stuff. Thanks.
In him was life, and life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. John was sent from God to witness the light. The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. The end.
This dude was...
what the fuck was that?
That, my friend, was the first recorded mushroom trip.
Fucking feels like the opening salvo of the War on Christmas. There is no fucking reference.
That is just...
Weird.
It's literally... literally...
Yeah.
Does that make... I couldn't piece together much sense out of
I
that.
remember when I was a believer, it seemed so bizarre that I'm like, oh my God, this is like...
It's profound.
mysterious, and you'll never understand it fully. And then I, of course, realized...
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
But what is amazing about all of this to me, all these fucking contradictions and these goofball zigs and zags, is it's their book, man. It's your book.
Yeah.
Edit.
Right.
To get rid of this, put
Right.
this in. You did it all the time. They
You
did
had
it
a whole
all the
Nicene
time.
Council. You could have gotten
Yeah.
rid of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But no.
Or rewrites.
And as we have to endure every year this bullshit war on Christmas, and then 6 weeks of decorations and fucking holiday music, and 2 of the gospel writers don't even touch it. The first one and the last one.
Yeah.
Don't
Right.
even touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The word is the... Wait. Now I just realized that song... Everybody knows about the word. I think that's based on
right.
John, right? That's the Gospel of John.
This is the original 60s surf guitar.
right.
Cool dude
Yeah, if you
daddy-o
could put like a
song.
surf guitar riff over me reading that. that'd be perfect.
And what? Tell me what's the word? Word up. Also, John.
Word up.
Serial gangsta.
I feel like, oh wow, my mind has just been. I now get all of it.
So any song with the word word. is
Yeah,
now-
anything.
The Christmas story in the Book of John is the unified theory of everything. Of hip hop and surf guitar and fuck. What so crazy. I just don't get it. I know that word processing was different back then. You had to have 600 guys sitting in a room with quill pens and gold leaf and calligraphy. It was
No
a little hard
backspace, no delete.
to rewrite, but wow, what a hot mess.
What a hot mess.
And it's our gift to you.
Yes,
listeners.
go ye forth now and proclaim the Gospels. Good luck.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Moving on.
Moving on.
Uncle Dan,
Yes, Uncle Mark.
we are joined once again by our friend Uncle Doug.
Yeah,
Hello.
hi, Doug.
Hi-yo.
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having
And
me.
we are going to bury a god today.
Yes, indeed. So we had a listener actually write into us and suggest a god.
Oh,
and,
we're taking
and-
requests.
well, when it's a good one,
Yeah.
I'm willing to. We're willing to jump on there.
Yes.
And this one is one you might you might have heard of. We're going to delve deep into Uranus. No one's okay. Mark,
So good.
Mark, in his joking over laughing, has actually almost died.
Mark just had an aneurysm.
My throat's bleeding.
Did you
yes,
die?
funny stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we had to do one. You got to do the joke.
Yeah, man, you got to do the Uranus. Come on.
Uranus, as many people like to say. I did not know anything about this god really, other than the fact that a planet is named after him.
A distant planet.
Yes, indeed, and a lovely one too.
It is pretty.
I hear it's lovely this time.
I think
of
it's
year,
now that
especially.
Pluto has been demoted, it's the furthest out, isn't it?
Neptune's the furthest out.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Mercury, Venus,
yeah.
Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
Right.
But which is the one that's on its side? Is that
All of them. they're
it's kind of hard to put.
they're round,
It's hard
Doug.
to put a sphere on its side, right? No, one of them is oriented differently, so it's like spinning.
it's spinning wrong
differently,
I
yeah.
don't know.
So, there's a lot of
but
us
we're
that are
not talking
oriented
about
differently.
planets. We're not talking about planets. We're
are we
talking
talking
about
about?
a guy.
We're talking about Uranus.
We're talking
Oh, Doug, so good.
We're talking about one of the origin gods. This is like this is way back stuff.
Right.
This it turns out is origin story stuff. So like we've heard about Zeus, we've heard about all these guys. This no one worshipped Uranus. It's just how we just learn about him to know how these other guys came about.
Oh,
Uranus was had a mother, Gaia, who is Earth,
Yeah.
and also married her. So there you go. And depending on who you ask, did not have a father, or was fathered by Ether, who is the air in the heavens. Depending on who you ask. This is one of the things that's really hard about old gods is that they're also things.
Right.
Like they're that's a person, but it's also the ground. So I'm not sure. It all gets very, very confusing as
right.
you
Now,
look
so
into
this
this.
is this Greek or
This is Greek.
okay? So these are Greek gods.
Yes, indeed. So
What's his equivalent in the Roman canon or pantheon?
I don't
I
know.
don't know either.
I don't know. That's why we stick with the Greek.
Right.
But
Back to Uranus.
Well, maybe I'll, whoa,
what?
we went blue. Oh,
I felt like All right.
Crazy.
So yes, Gaia gives birth to him. He marries her, and then so he's the sky. Uranus is the sky. Gaia is the earth, and every night he comes and envelops her, and it gets just as sexy as it sounds.
Yeah.
So he keeps making babies with her. Now, there's this really weird trick where he hates them. He hates his babies.
He hates the babies.
So much
Oh,
that eventually he's had a whole bunch of them, including and that they then end up calling the Titans.
yes,
right.
You've heard
okay,
of them. The Titans are
I
the
remember them.
so remember
Like to weave pop culture in anytime. we can.
That is not pop culture.
that it's
It's a good basketball movie. I like it.
it's one of them sporting films.
With Rudy.
So there are 6 sons and 6 daughters that are the Titans. He's also the father of 3 100-handed giants that are called the Hecatonechecus. They were called the 100-handed giants.
Okay.
Did they have 100 arms or 100, like 50 hands on the end of 2 arms?
I don't know. Did they have arms at all? I don't know.
Just a bundle of hands.
Just hands. They're just walking around with hands.
Just a sea anemone with fingernails.
Anyway,
I'm gonna
and
have
also
nightmares tonight.
yeah, and also they gave birth to the cyclopses, the cyclopes, the one-eyed giants that are the cyclopes.
I think that their propensity to have extreme genetic mutations
it says something
should
about
probably maybe they should adopt.
it. Right. Well, when you marry your mom,
When you marry the earth,
let this be a lesson to you.
yeah.
Your mom is not the best person to have chillins with.
Do you hear that, Alabama?
You know what? We need to lay off of Alabama. They just did something very
That's
good.
true. I take it back.
We just need to be nice to
Looking
Alabama
at you, Mississippi.
for a while. That's right.
I moved to strike those comments.
Anyway, so he had all these kids with her. He hated them, in part because he thought that they were coming for him. He was worried because he was now like super god. He was the most powerful god. So he sent them all to Tartarus, which is like super hell. It's like way down deep in the earth.
Beneath Hades.
Beneath Hades, that's
Yeah.
right. Now, I'll remind you, the earth is also his wife. So he stuffed them super
in.
down deep into his wife, which apparently caused her some pain. She was in a little bit of pain about that. He stuffs them down in there. And in reading a little bit about Tartarus, there was the contemporary Greeks or ancient Greeks, a few of them went so far as to tell you how deep it was, including most of them. The accounts was something like it's as deep from the surface of the earth as the sky is far from the surface of the earth.
And this matters somehow, how deep he plowed his mother wife.
Yeah, exactly.
With the babies.
So the sky begins either at the ground or depending on how you measure it.
Right, yeah. Oh, and also one guy actually went so far as to say that if you dropped a brass anvil from the sky, it would take 9 days for it to hit the ground.
Wow.
And then if you dropped it from the ground into a hole that led to Tartarus, 9 more days for it to... He had a very weird sense of terminal velocity.
And could I ask about the point of having a brass anvil? Doesn't that kind of defeat the point of an anvil? Is it to be made of soft metal?
You shut your damn mouth.
Goddamn mouth about respect people's beliefs in their anvils.
Exactly. So all of the youngest children...
It was the first Roadrunner measurement in religion.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Wireless Coyoteus was the one who came up with that one. That's more Roman. Anyway, it was funny in a minute in my head. So Gaia is in pain because some of her babies are stuffed deep
She's
inside
been
of her.
turduckened with monsters.
Which is the title of my new memoir coming out soon, Turduckened with Monsters. And so she goes to her babies and she's to these titans and says, "Hey, I've got this sickle here that I fashioned from Flint stone. Anybody want to cut off Dad's dick? Basically, or castrate him."
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that includes just the balls or if that includes all the genitals. Different stories,
Just
different
depends
accounts
on how you
vary.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
Whatever was the fashion at the time.
if you're using a sickle, I'm guessing it's not a precision instrument at that moment. Anyway, only Cronus, one of the Titans, was willing to do it. I think he was the youngest, but hungry for that power.
Yeah.
So
He wanted that dick.
that night, when Dad came back to screw Mom again, out jumps Cronus and swoop cuts off the bits
Wow.
and chucks them into the water. Who is also a god.
He cuts the dick right off Uranus.
Oh, boom, boom, baby. Throws the junk into the water.
Yeah.
And then and of course he bleeds from this. So Uranus's blood hits the ground, and that's where we get the Furies and giants and the ash tree dwelling nymphs called Meliae.
So from the blood splatter.
Exactly.
Wow.
that they just appeared out of that, and then in the sea,
Makes sense.
from the junk uprose Aphrodite, who then
From a severed sea penis.
from a severed,
Her
you know,
origin story makes her considerably less hot.
right, right. But
Well,
yeah,
we
you
all
know,
come out of our dad's balls in some way.
in some way or other.
True point.
That's,
Angelina Jolie
Yeah.
came from John Voight.
don't do that to me. I don't need that. Anywho, so
And Sarah Huckabee Sanders came from Mike Huckabee. I mean, it just
But I think that was more of like an outgrowth that
It's
just
a dance as old as time.
Yeah, that just became animate.
budded asexually. The upshot of this is that then Kronos took over. Because he had emasculated his father, he gets to be the real god.
I don't know who'd fuck with him after that. I'd be
It's true. And so then at that point, Uranus just became the sky and just stayed the
he
sky.
was the sky eunuch. He just
He just that's all he did. That was his parting shot was, "Oh yeah, well your son's gonna do this to you too," he says to Kronos as a prophecy. And
by the way, that's classic parenting talk.
right,
Wait till you have kids.
right, exactly.
Right?
This will happen to you too.
Yeah.
I think you're justified threatening your son if he cut your balls off.
If you cut your balls off, you can say
At that point.
You can lash out a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Different times.
And it turns out that actually did happen because Kronos eventually gives birth to Zeus,
Yes.
who eventually is he's the big daddy forever.
But Kronos ate his children, right? That was his.
Yeah, it was, so Zeus had to be hidden from Kronos because Kronos' idea, Kronos understood you can't just stuff your kids back into their mom for too long, or you'll get your junk cut off.
You got
What
to,
to
eat 'em.
do?
Yeah, you have to eat them. So he would eat his young, but then they hid Zeus from him,
Zeus was hidden.
and that's the story
Of who?
of all of them.
I think he means Uranus.
Well, that is a wild, crazy ride, and I guess the lesson to take there is when all you have is a flint sickle, every problem looks like a brass anvil. Right?
I'm so tired of that saying.
That old chestnut.
If only it didn't apply so often.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's it for our friend Uranus.
Yeah,
So,
let's we've probed him thoroughly.
we've
Let's
taken a good look at him. So let's put him back underground.
plunge him back into his dirty hole.
May he rest in pieces.
Bye.
Moving on.
Well, Uncle Mark,
Yes, Uncle Dan.
we have some people to thank, but before we thank them, we're going to caveat
Heavily.
because Patreon pulled some maneuvers
Patreon went bananas this past couple weeks.
and decided to make it really hard for everybody.
Right.
And then we all got an email that said, "Just kidding, sorry."
Yep.
So we're gonna thank everybody that we think we need to thank, but if we missed you or whatever, please write into us because
Yeah, send us a note. We don't want to leave you out.
everybody got a little bit tricksy and they sort of
Yeah.
there was a big shuffle.
And a huge thanks for sticking with us through this.
Yeah,
It was stupid and a mess, and we still can't figure out who hit their head where.
right.
But they unhit their heads, so we're kind of back to how it was.
So things are hopefully good now.
Mommy and Daddy aren't getting divorced, honey.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And yes, now do not be scared away. If you want to become a patron, the Patreon thing is sorted, so you can go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
without-
just go to the website, click on the Patreon link, and it'll take you there.
right. So for now, we have some people to thank. I want to thank Emily, Kevin, Allison, Clifton, as new donors, and I apparently have to send Jake to heaven.
Jake, who left us. Now, Jake's a tough customer. He left us for a minute,
He was pissed at the whole Patreon thing.
but he has repented. And,
Yes.
and oh, how has he repented?
Yeah, enough that he gets his own personal heaven.
Let Jake be an example. You can be forgiven and you can be elevated.
Lo, they said unto them,
Yes, the shepherds.
Be ye like Jake. So here, Jake, is your heaven. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Yes.
May or may not be the day you die, but here in your personal heaven, every day is Sunday. But don't worry, these Sundays aren't for church. So start your engines and prepare your lungs, because your afterlife is all about power and speed, and the exhaust fumes are going to be intense. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Eternities of Thunder. Grab a beer, wrap an American flag around each of your favorite body parts, and find something bolted down to grab onto, because you're in for a heart-pounding, ear-punishing, diesel-fueled adventure.
Hooey!
Every day in Eternities of Thunder is a mix of every element that makes America great, which, since Trump became president, is a category that has whittled itself down to vehicles that go fast. We've given you a front row seat to this NASCAR racetrack. Of course, this is heaven, so we're not dealing with the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing. No, this one has a K.
Oh.
This is the non-temporal Athanasia. Why would I include a word that I can't actually pronounce? And supernatural kick-ass reward.
Yeah!
Sit down and revel in the unadulterated joy that can only come from dozens of souped-up rumble buggies roaring past you at speed so fast you can't actually see or appreciate them. Glory in the vertigo-inducing decibels produced by a 4-speed, 5.9-liter V8 engine spinning at 9,500 RPMs, pumping out 850 horses of raw, nasty power. Were your pants dry when you sat down? Because they're wet now. I won't ask you if you're excited or terrified. Either is perfectly natural. Either is a perfectly natural physiological response when you hear a roar like that.
Boy, howdy.
Need a break from the exhilaration of eternally watching fast cars turn left? No problem. Take a pit stop at one of the many fine theme restaurants available to you. Delight in the eclectic decorations. Is that a stuffed porcupine in a canoe on the ceiling? As you gorge yourself on all the cheap beer, we have our own brand here, Coors Weiser. It's worse than both. And your fried food, and fried food that you can cram in your face hole. And then head back onto the track, because cars are not the only thing going on out there. Oh, no. You'll also be surrounded by hundreds of thousands of the friendliest fans heaven has to offer. Fellow inebriates will gladly hold your beer for you when it's time to purge, and there's an endless cavalcade of screaming women gleefully baring their breasts to the delighted cheers of everyone around. And I really hope you're into that, because, well, while the ladies come in all forms, the fellas here are, how to put this kindly, less appealing. Every one of them wears no fewer than 5 corporate branded articles of clothing at all times, and their overindulgent fondness for the track beer has done them no favors. Though you'll be glad to know that this isn't an unequal place, the men bare their breasts here plenty also.
Oh, nice.
So strap in and get used to continuous mild nausea, because you're going to heaven, and it's race time.
Oh, my God. Okay, that heaven is so amazing. I feel like that was a homophobic attack on me. That's how successful that heaven is, Jake. So God bless you.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful time. And patrons, if you want to up your game a little bit, we'll bring it.
Yeah, that is reserved only for the most holy of our patrons.
Right on. Well, thanks, guys, and thanks, Uncle Dan, for a beautiful custom heaven.
Well, you're welcome. And if you guys want to become a part of this, as we said before, you can go to howtoheretic.com and click on that patron button and give to your uncles.
Give till it hurts. But if you can't give till it hurts, or even if it's comfortable, go to your iTunes or your Stitcher and show us a little love in the form of a 5-star review if you can.
Right.
And I don't know why I'm kind of talking with a certain accent. All of a sudden.
It's catching.
It definitely is.
It'll get you.
I can smell it from here. So, All right, folks.
Moving on.
Uncle Dan.
Yes, Uncle Mark.
We are very fortunate for our how-to today to be doing a how-to part 2.
A part 2 how-to.
A part 2 how-to read.
How to read.
With our dear friend and returning champion, Professor K.
Oh, we should have a tournament.
We should have brackets.
An interview tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rabbi Gruber versus
Right.
Professor Jim.
Yeah.
They move on to take on Professor K.
And there'd be horses and lances.
Dr. D.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have a whole
All right.
we'll have a whole
a
thing.
joust.
A joust.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I
She's
like
going
it.
old school.
I like it. Well, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we had wonderful feedback on our first how to read segment, and so we thought, gosh, let's have another one of those. So
Because people still think they know how to read, and we're gonna convince them they don't.
or
Right.
But then you'll teach them how to.
Or convince them they do. Yeah,
Or convince them they
that'd be
do.
good, too.
Oh, sure.
all right, and we don't even know what you're going to talk about today. I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about it a lot because I realized how much I enjoy the subject. And so the anxiety this week has been trying to find a way to pin it down and not try and deluge everybody with, all of the things I think about reading and all the things I want to unload after all these years of censoring myself in the classroom and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
Oh, if this is therapy for you, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You can just come in and scream.
okay, I'll
Next-
save the screaming for later. But
Yeah. Next time we'll bring in Paige
Yeah.
and he can actually do the therapy for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd
Oh,
be a
that's
combination.
the bracket.
There you go. You versus Paige.
That's right. We'll
Oh,
go
this is
there.
good.
Yeah.
So the way I decided to narrow it down, of course, I'm on the far end of a semester, and I've really had some good conversations with my students. And so I don't mean to align everybody who reads with English majors, but I talk to my students a lot about why we read. And the thing that keeps striking me more and more semester by semester is sort of the outside pressure to tell people what not to read. And everybody has a list of what not to read. And everybody has advice to somebody they know of what they should never read. So one of my first pieces of advice and thing I like to focus on the very most today is about making sure we read precisely what we're not supposed to read.
Oh, go for the taboos.
And there are a lot of ways that we're tabooed. And so I have an example from class that I want to represent fairly, but it really struck me toward the end of this semester.
So when the librarian keeps yelling at me to stop trying to take out the Judy Blume books,
That's right.
just tell her to shove it.
That's right.
If she tells you shouldn't read Judy Blume, then that's probably the best thing that you could possibly be reading.
She might be responding to the court order, but
Right.
I'd like to think it's just in her professional capacity.
You're just not that allowed that close to children.
That's right, to literary children. Sorry, go on.
And Judy Blume teaches girls how to masturbate, so it's not that relevant to you.
Yeah, baby.
Go, Judy.
So.
I don't know. I think a gay man could learn a lot. from
Where's
him.
the
How
boy
young
version of
Yeah,
that? They probably don't need much teaching.
Right, we need extra
They
instruction.
figure it out.
Figure it out some way.
Yeah.
Not everybody comes to the same conclusions as others, though, I imagine.
Well, this got weird. All right, let's continue.
Okay, so here's the story from class. One of my students came in and said that after we had read in a literary theory class, we'd read some sections of Karl Marx's discussion about how labor is alienated from the laborer, how when we make something, it's taken away from us and becomes something outside of ourselves and can be handed to other people, for example. And he came back a few days later, and I really admire this guy. He's smart and he's capable. He's a good reader. He's a natural academic intellect. But his father had told him that English majors have no business whatsoever reading Karl Marx. And I was really intrigued by this because, for one thing, I know this. I've been told my whole life what I shouldn't read and what I can't read. But at the same time, to have it sort of come up so directly in class, it just reminded me again of how many prohibitions my students come into as declared English majors. How many people are telling them what they should and shouldn't read, what they can and can't read.
Right.
And our list of prohibited reading is huge.
Before we get into that, I'm just curious, who is supposed to read Marx? Political science?
Apparently, economists who know how to deal with his ideas without letting them get out of control.
Oh, I see.
For
I see.
example, there are certain kinds of reading that we shouldn't read because we'll misinterpret it, or we'll get it wrong, or we don't have it in context, or we will somehow go back to some of the original uncontained ideas
I
that
see.
the profession hasn't contained. I hear this from psychologists and a lot of my psychology majors as well. psychologists don't read Freud anymore. Why do we have to read Freud? Or we shouldn't be reading Freud because he was wrong.
Right.
And I was like, well, then we shouldn't read Aristotle either because Aristotle thought everything was eventually going to turn into gold, and we know that's not true.
With Freud, you're saying that now what am I supposed to think about a cigar?
Right.
Fuck.
Well, or we're saying with Freud that because he got a few things wrong, or because so did Darwin,
Right.
There's this kind of idea that unless it's absolutely correct information and now we have the interpretation contained, that now we shouldn't read it anymore, which shows me we're afraid of learning something wrong.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the impulse makes sense to me. Like, I don't want to walk around with outdated, defunct information and thinking that I've got the latest and greatest.
Right.
Like, I do understand that impulse because, you don't want to be the guy at the cocktail party where everybody's like, oh my God, you haven't even read that. You haven't even, look at how far behind you are on this thinking.
Yeah, and that's terrifying. A, we don't want to learn something wrong, and B, we don't want to waste our time learning something that's obsolete. So we're always super anxious that we've got to read the most up-to-date information.
Which also turns out to be wrong.
Right. I think we have to change the whole paradigm. One of the things I think we learn when we really want to read is we're just trying to catch up on the conversation.
Yeah.
On the whole long-standing response and reaction and hear this and think this through and understand this influence kind of conversation. And we have to sort of get out of the idea that we can only read for perfect facts, or we're never going to have anything to read.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's this is interesting because what I didn't expect this conversation to go to was like nonfiction or whatever.
Right.
But I think that there's something very fascinating about the idea that we should limit even the ideas that we're like, not just the art that we're exposing ourselves to, but the ideas that we're exposing ourselves to.
And this, that's a really good way of saying it. There's this idea that certain kinds of, and some of this comes from the academy. If you major in English, then you have no business reading someone else's literature, And if you're in biology, then you're not an English. You don't read literature. I mean, it comes from the way we divide up our sense of discipline, and then we specialize and read everything in one discipline, at least theoretically, and therefore we can't make any leap into other stuff. And that's a really weird way of censoring each other, and especially to English majors. Like, we can read whatever the fuck we want. We read. I mean, we read stuff, and that's the whole point of what we do. We learn how to read a whole range of language and take it in and understand it and reinterpret it and send it back into the pool.
Well, it's an oddly counterintuitive thing about higher education, right? Is you're going to get, in whatever field you're pursuing, you're going to get this great education. But what ends up happening in a lot of fields is you just read more and more about less and less.
Right.
You dial down and you drill down onto one topic. And so,
and that's the nature of our
it's the nature of it. So those people
fields.
are probably obsessed with, I can only read the most current thing on this, in this field, or it's wasted time.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because it's not marketable or it's not applicable, or we already know what we think about Marx, and that. And I'm going to stay with Marx for a little bit because, of course, I was taught by the time I was in 4th or 5th grade. I grew up in the Cold War. Just
he was the devil.
Summoning Marx was like summoning the devil. Yeah. And in that sense, I would guess that almost everybody who's forbidden me or my students from reading Marx hasn't read Marx.
Right. Of course.
And in that sense, there's this sort of like, it's just bad by its nature. If you touch it, you will be diseased. And that's
like saying the word
frightening
Satan.
Concept. Yeah.
Yeah.
It summons devils.
Right.
And that's funny because so much. I mean, I remember being in college and being surprised to find that Marx was not that. Like, when I read a little bit of Marx, it's like, oh well, actually, we use a lot of this all the time.
Yeah. This is part of the sort of mainstream conversation and learning how to trace its genealogies and its roots, and a big theoretical word, epistemologies, is really part of the whole. Reading isn't just some surface facts that you peel off like a sticker and put on the wall. It's like an iceberg, I guess, for the lack of a better cliche. There's a whole lot beneath it that supports it, makes it make sense, and makes it make meaning.
Well, and even if the world of psychology has dismissed most of Freud's theories as not being true, Freud was thinking in a new way. And if you want to read, I mean, so don't read it for like modern psychological theory, but certainly read it to try and, as a paradigm for shifting thought, for changing how humans think about
the history of that field of thinking, like that,
and everything that's answered to him since. Of course we read Freud. If we read anything that's been remotely influenced by that conversation, it's nice to know where it comes from. Yeah. Not only that, but in literature, my gosh, we decided a long time ago. In English, we don't read Freud as a therapeutic thing. We read Freud because he had this profound influence on how we read past the surface of people's words, actions, images. He created a whole kind of new genre of psychological writing. You can't really read anything in the 20th century without understanding how Freud had given us sort of this codification of symbols and images and ways and patterns of reading. And it's been super productive. It doesn't make anyone healthier, but that's not our discipline.
Right.
We mess things up.
Yeah, we're health neutral.
Yeah, really. So it just really did make me think about how many ways that we even like learn to censor ourselves. I don't read that stuff because I'm not in this discipline, or I don't read this stuff because I'm a woman, which, I heard again and again from my father, which is kind of charming now. Honey, I don't want you to lose your femininity over this. I think I've mentioned this before, this terror that if certain things came into me that I would somehow no longer be truly a woman, or I would lose my birthright as a daughter of pioneers, or I would lose my attractiveness to men and therefore never go on with my actual biological destiny. And I even as a mother, certain things I talk about, like now, that aren't very maternal. There's an awful lot of sense that our identities are locked into certain kinds of information, and our identities are also created by what does not ever enter us and therefore pollute our identities.
Wow, that's fascinating. So is it as simple, like your dad's opinion about some of that stuff, is it as simple as saying, that's not a very girly thing to do? That's reading this is that it? It was just very about kind of
even
specific
a fear
gender
that it
roles?
would just change me into something that was not recognizably feminine to him.
If you don't shut your gate against
you
these
guys can
ideas,
see I grew a beard, and I got much taller after I read,
Yes,
you smoked a pipe. You were very
clearly a lumberjack now.
Yeah.
Well, it does. That's a particularly religious notion, right?
Mm-hmm.
That somehow letting in a certain thought or a certain series of ideas will poison you.
This goes back to the purity thing.
Like you don't have the fortitude as a human being to withstand it. So if it gets in, you're done. It's like a virus.
If you sit next to a gay guy in a bar, you might turn gay.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
It is. Yeah. That was a big mistake to go to the
or
sun
you read
that
this
night.
thing. And of course, it comes from our deep knowledge that, certain kinds of information, certain kinds of knowing create us. Mm-hmm. They will change us. They certainly accumulate in us. And at a certain point, one of the best things about leaving my religion was like, hey, now I get to become all kinds of things I've been forbidden from becoming. And man, that changes the reading landscape.
It speaks to a massive insecurity in the religious worldview, I think, that there is, we talked about this in the segment you did a couple weeks ago with us, where when you're in religion and you're reading the canon, you're reading this very complex, weird combination of contradictory stories, but you're reading it all to a predetermined conclusion.
Right.
You're not exploring it. You're not drawing your own conclusions. You're looking at it ahistorically.
And we call this, this is really kind of where the central theories of fundamentalism are focusing on a deep mistrust of language and a deep mistrust of metaphor, a terror that language will slip and mean what it's not supposed to mean in the wrong hands and among the wrong people, which is why slaves can't read.
Right.
They're going to get ideas. They're going to read the New Testament and think that they shouldn't be slaves. They're going to read Is this why, in, of course, the medieval times, the peasantry doesn't read? We preserve the right to read to people who know how to interpret it in the first place. We always know that kind of promiscuous interpretable quality of language is super dangerous.
Right.
It's easy. Grace Paley said in America, since we have the First Amendment, that we've made some of the most beautiful and useless literature the world has ever seen. But I was reminded 20 years ago when I was in Beijing at a conference, the Chinese government wouldn't let American lit professors meet with Chinese lit professors because we shouldn't be talking to each other.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were actually broken up and weren't allowed to speak. It's the first time I felt dangerous in a long time. Like, wow, I'm really badass. But it was terrifying.
Dangerous, but you were the vessel for dangerous knowledge.
Yeah, but we just police it in another way here. We just say, you're going to grow a beard if you read that, or you're going to be gay if you read that, or you're going to turn into something alien and foreign. And so we censor ourselves.
Is the fundamental root of this fear? Is it that we as humans, and maybe religion has sort of instilled this too. Maybe I'm going to lay this at the feet of religion a little bit, which is this fundamental sense of a fear of one's own inability to steer one's ship.
Yeah.
Because it seems like if you genuinely feel that you can trust yourself, then you're not worried about it. Any information can come in, and you will know what to dismiss and what to keep as useful to yourself. But I think that there's this sort of infantilizing idea that floats through all of religion that says you don't know how to steer your ship. Only God knows how to steer your ship, and you have to give that over.
Your entire eternity depends on your ability to resist this. That is. Considering how quickly our lives go by and how little we know about ourselves and our world, and how wonderfully literature has been the repository of everybody's best guess and best observations in the moments that they were alive and vivid and had something to say. To say, no, you don't get that. That's devastating. To me, that's just unbelievable. And as readers, I think we have to kind of remember that too. I find myself getting cautionary and saying, well, maybe you shouldn't read this. Maybe I've at a certain point, I think the advice is don't read less, read more. Keep it up. Always keep it in a state of motion, of fluidity, and so if we have no integrity and never decide anything, then maybe we won't believe anything strongly enough to kill anyone for.
Yeah. We were taught to avoid the appearance of evil and to only seek faith-affirming anything. So, I think we
and everything
about
else is the wiles of the devil. And so my students come into class just absolutely believing on a very, very deep, just constructed level that unapproved literature, which is everything except Scripture, or somebody's official commentary on Scripture.
Things you can buy at Deseret Book, which here
are
is
people
the
trying
Mormon
to trick
bookstore.
you?
Yeah.
Are people trying to trick you, as opposed to people generously offering the very best of their thinking and perspective and saying, "Hey, what do you think?"
Right. Which, in many cases, the best of their thinking is crap, and you're allowed to just dismiss it. You don't have to accept any of it.
Or we can answer to, okay, who else has said this? And who else is talking about it? And who else has answered it? And if it makes sense and it works for a period of time. I love the way Gayatri Spivak says, don't expect me to be consistent. I think differently than I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. You evolve. And
it would be, the thought that someone should have the same thought now that they had 20 years ago.
For the sake of consistency or integrity.
It's revolting. That's a terrible
not
thought.
at all. Which matters not at all.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And there are all kinds of different responses to what you should and shouldn't read. My roommate years ago, his girlfriend gave him Atlas Shrugged, and he began soldiering through it. And one day I was sitting in the living room on the couch, and he quietly walked out of his bedroom and took a bread knife out of the drawer and stood over the garbage can and sawed the spine in half and dropped it in the garbage and went back into his room without a word. Now that's eliciting a response.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't saw the spine in half until you know it's worth it. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, and certainly, there's the answer to, oh, my friend didn't like Atlas Shrugged is not, don't read Atlas Shrugged. You know what I mean? Like, I like your idea that the solution to reading something that jarred you or didn't make you, didn't gel with what you think isn't to not read anything like that anymore. It's to read more things. Read things that are like that and read things that are counter to that and read all the things.
Who's answered Rand really well? Lots of people have been talking about it and responding to it. And again, it seems really urgent for certain people in authority to keep us away from the conversation at all or in any way. Just keep us out of it. And in a certain way, to reconceive of any kind of writing, fiction, nonfiction, philosophy, the best writing of any particular kind of discipline, to say, well, you're just not the right kind of person to understand this. There's something really violent about that.
Yeah.
There's something really coercive, and I think we get scared of it, and we'll say, okay, if we think I'm just going to find that one thing out there that's finally true, that really speaks to me and really makes sense to me, and that's fine to a certain point, but then you're done with it. Still, we can censor ourselves to say, I'm just too tired of not knowing for sure what's going on. And if we've lost our religion, most of us have had to face on some way or another, I don't know what's going on out there.
Right.
And maybe we get a little panicky and trying to find another doctrine or another religion or another dogma or something of the kind. But most of us who've left of a rigid dogma are kind of tired of dogma.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty wonderful place to be positioned as a reader.
Right. And to suddenly be like, oh, with so many other things as well, oh, I can have fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I can waste my time. Oh,
or I can have compassion for this person who's depicted in. This gets back to literature.
Yeah,
literature's about saying, look, here's this fucked up, confused, bewildered, tragic person, and walk around in this person's life for a while.
Yeah,
that gets back to good old Christian compassion, which again, I think a lot of our prohibitions, religious prohibitions, are about make sure you have no compassion for this person. Make sure you don't understand these people.
Right. They prune empathy. Mm-hmm. They bonsai empathy down into just a very particular strain, and it's usually very exclusionary. And so when you read, Solzhenitsyn or whatever, and you suddenly are inside this person's very complicated, very tragic story, I mean, that's an act of empathy. Yeah. Understanding another human being in an intimate way like that, and it's beautiful.
That's a kind of truth.
Yeah.
That's a kind of real truth. This is this person's truth, and you don't have to take it in completely, but you can surrender your own life and walk into it and take this one on. That's always been, I would say, the most powerful ethic of literature, to stop seeing the world from our own eyes.
Wow.
Yeah, agreed.
So, I've got a nice list of other ways that we
yes, tell us.
Censor each other or censor ourselves.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of them is disciplinary. Again, we can't jump disciplines because, psychology only belongs to the psychologists and, whatever runs through that one.
And none of us could possibly have anything to learn from someone who hasn't studied our thing as much as we have.
Yeah,
what could we possibly learn?
Stay in your lane, everybody.
Yeah. So, and we know the dogmas at this point, so we know how to interpret this information, and you might misinterpret it, which is the same pattern. Right. I think feminists do this an awful lot. Unless we have a perfect, somehow feminist role model, girls shouldn't read it. And I'm like, well, that prohibits girls from reading stuff all over again.
Right.
We've already been told we don't belong in literature, and now, well, that's sexist or ignores women, or this is a poor role model, or this is a confused person. So I think feminists can get very dogmatic about what we should and shouldn't read, and that's bullshit.
Something along the lines of like, we won't let these men tell us what not to read. We're going to tell us what not to read.
And I think that's true for almost anyone who gets sort of militant about certain stuff.
Right.
We also have this idea that, okay, once we discover we're gay, or once we discover we're apostate, or once we discover we're women and feminists, then we say we're only going to read stuff from our tribe, and that seems to be a better invitation to read mean, I'm always stunned at how men don't think they should be reading women's literature, that straight people see LGBTQI lit as, the sort of thing for
Niche.
people to go over in the clubhouse and read.
Yeah.
Even if they're being generous about it. If you want to understand what it means to be straight, then man, read something queer,
Right. Oh yeah.
Talk about being afraid of the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that especially when something's from your out group, and especially if your group,
is the perfect opposite.
yeah. Well, and I'm speaking as a straight white male, so like my group is all the privileges, and so people in the privileged groups, I can tell you, often are just affirmed everywhere everywhere, all the movies that I see, all of the the sort of standard, the literature that's written by my group, I'm just affirmed. I'm just my story is just very, very easy to swallow. And then
it is a world that needs no explanation.
Right, exactly.
It's just assumed that everybody understands this is the perspective from which stories are told.
Right.
And then-
which
and
is
then
really weird because then it means that you never have to see yourself from the outside.
Right.
And when you've got someone else, I love the way Virginia Woolf said to men, she said, you've talked about yourselves, you've assessed us, you've showed us what we look like, where you've told us what we ought to be, you've reprimanded us, you've done us this wonderful favor all these years. Don't you want us to return it?
Right.
So there's a spot on the back of your head that you've never seen. Don't you think it'd be great if somebody just walked around the back and told you what that looked like? But there's this wish to never be objectified, of course, and white masculinity or heterosexuality doesn't have to objectify itself because it is the subject of all things. And to see it from just a displaced perspective, do you really want to see yourself?
Well, it's scary. I will say, there was a moment in my life when I realized I have to let go of my defensiveness if I'm going to encounter anything outside of myself.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like anything that challenged the sort of this standard narrative of who I was. My narrative of who I was and this this white male narrative scared the bejesus and it didn't just scare me, it made me mad
Yeah, sure.
because I was like, hey, we've all agreed who I am. Why are we challenging this? And then but if you can move past that, yeah, you read some literature from a female black perspective, and suddenly like a white man is a very different critter.
Or not even there. Toni Morrison will write whole novels where you can just barely see white people somewhere out on the periphery.
Right.
They walk in and step out again.
Right.
And that's so unnerving for all of us who have assumed that we're sort of at the heart of literature and it's always about us and universally true. It's just unnerving to my students to read a Toni Morrison novel that doesn't cater at all to, wait, where am I?
Yeah,
like-
you forgot me.
Yeah.
Hello, you totally forgot to put me in your book.
And you misrepresented me. I'm a whole different thing than this.
Wow, that's so fascinating.
Yeah.
I guess as feeling like I've been an outsider most of my life, when I read and don't see myself, because I'm so unused to seeing, I'm a white man, a white American man, but as a sexual minority and
Right.
just kind of a weirdo from a strange, religious society, I seldom see myself in literature.
Yeah.
Right. So
And when you do,
I'm not
you
made
tend to see
uncomfortable
yourself.
when I read by that outsiderness, that otherness, but
Right.
maybe, people like Dan
So-
can't
We're the
read
worst.
Yeah.
Can't
that,
read
that
anything, but-
continuous sense, though, at least of you've probably like all of us to a point, even white men, heterosexual men. There's always that moment in literature. It's like, okay, I'm being overgeneralized, I'm being overrepresented, I'm not being seen right. A lot of times, my students are really pretty militant right now about why do we have to keep, why do we have to always get so political and get this other stuff in? Because we value the voices and the perspectives of many people. And it's such an obvious answer, but it's really still disconcerting that we say we value many voices and we're all sort of trying to compare notes and we're all collaborating in the ways we understand the world and its meanings and science and the history of knowledge. We all love that idea of it being collaborative until it really is.
Right.
And And it's actually much more difficult to encounter than I think. So we do censor ourselves. And I think as readers, if I have like, okay, how to read as a heretic, heretics are always about, okay, I'm still in the conversation, but I see it differently. Then listen to the heretics. Read them, answer them. It's a conversation. It's any language that you make or that an author makes with some kind of intention is this is the final word and now the conversation stops. That would be where I would say, okay, don't read that stuff. Or don't read it that way. Don't ever, ever accept reading as here's the final word and now I don't have to read anymore.
Yeah. I wonder if part of something that might be happening right now at this moment in history, because I look at online interactions, which tend to be so screamy, so quick to jump on everybody.
Yeah, our favorite word is eviscerate.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I wonder,
him.
Yeah.
And I wonder if if there might be a problem right now in engaging with literature, where it's like, but I don't get my say yet. Like I'm reading this whole thing, and all I get to do is listen. Essentially, like my voice doesn't get to be part of this conversation for the entire book.
Yeah. So we want to slay it with a single one-liner that we can send around on a meme on Facebook,
Right.
I mean, we live in meme culture, which is always about having that one super barbed, absolutely right thing you say that stops everybody in their tracks, and that's antithetical to what we value as readers. It's the opposite of what it's not. We don't offer something in the sort of tradition of reading and writing, in the best tradition of reading and writing, to stop the conversation. It's always about keeping it moving.
I love that.
And that's, my gosh, that is just not what I was raised with.
Same.
No. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's read fearlessly.
Maybe we should leave it at that. I think that's a fantastic way place to leave this, and we'll continue the conversation next time.
It's funny every time we do this, we're like, oh, there's this whole other region we need to talk about.
Yeah, that's good. I hope I can keep coming back and talking about it. I really do. Because
if you'll come do our work for us, you can come anytime. So that's right. Well, it's awesome. Thank you for coming back, Professor K. We haven't run you off yet.
No.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
All right, moving on. Well, friends, that's it for this week's show.
Yeah, hey, we'd love to hear from you guys. Go ahead and send us an email if you want to at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you're a combatant in the war on Christmas, you can leave us a voicemail at 903-88-HOW-TO, which is 903-884-6986.
Right. Hey, just to remind you, if you want to join the legions that are helping make this show happen, you can go to you can go to howtoheretic.com and click on that patron button, and then you can come and help make everything go.
Or look, you can do it at Thank God I'm Atheist too. They're all right. Those guys are all right.
Oh Lord.
Oh God. And if you want, you can go to iTunes or Stitcher. Leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank Cody Layton for editing the show.
And thank you for tuning in, friends.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.